Today we're ranking every Apex weapon based on how fun they are to use. Let's take a look at the tiers. First is S tier, which is peak fun. These are the most fun weapons to use in Apex. Next is A tier, having a blast. These weapons aren't the peak of fun, but they're definitely above average. Next is B tier, solid fun. These weapons are the average for fun in Apex. Next is C tier, hit or miss. These weapons are very situational and can be either fun or not fun. Next is D tier, not fun. These weapons aren't that fun to use and should probably get exchanged. Last and definitely least is F tier, misery. There is a weapon so bad that I had to make it its own tier. Comment down below what you think it is. Get ready for possibly the most controversial tier list of all time. Coming up first on the tier list is the 30-30 repeater. Over the past few seasons, this gun has fallen off of a cliff. It used to be completely meta and was borderline in every loadout. Now Apex has nerfed this gun and people have seemingly forgotten that it's even existed. Its two best qualities were having the skull piercers and a fast reload. Now it doesn't have either of those things and genuinely feels useless. This is because the weapon has a charge up before you shoot, so you have to wait to shoot the thing you're aiming at. The only reason you would pick up this gun is if you don't want to have fun, which is why it goes in D tier. The Alternator. Now, the Alternator may just be the single most overrated gun in Apex history. Even when disruptors were still in the game, I found this gun mid. And I know that there are people out there that love this gun. But there comes a problem when my grandmother can cross the street faster than this gun empties a mag. I don't hate this gun, I just very much dislike it. So it's going in D tier. The Bocek is pretty fun. When you get it from the care package, you can silently shoot at people and have them wondering where you are. It does require some accuracy, but it's both viable in close range and far range. I do wish there was a season where it was on the ground so that everyone could feel like Lara Croft. However, I still think it's solid the way it is. So it's going in B tier. The C.A.R. Now the C.A.R is the only weapon in the game that can switch between ammo types. Because of that, I'm always changing ammo types as quick as I change addresses from my house to your mom's house, which makes it incredibly versatile and earns a spot in B tier.
Did I do it?
The charge rifle is the worst weapon I have ever seen in a video game. It's like telling the enemy that you're gonna shoot at them before you do. It's like purposely lagging. By the time the gun actually shoots itself, GTA 6 is going to be out. 99% of the time, they're just gonna move out of the way. But on the off chance they don't, you do next to no damage. Using this gun is straight misery, and the only reason you would willingly pick this thing up is if you hate yourself. This gun either needs to be reworked or removed from the loophole altogether. It is so bad that I had to make it its own tier. So, charge rifle, you go in F tier, and you stay in F tier until you've learned your lesson. The Devotion is an example of how you do a charged-based weapon. Now, granted, it's in the care package and has a built-in turbocharger to it, but even when it didn't have a turbocharger, it didn't take 9.5 years in order for it to charge up. This weapon is super fun to use right now and has a hilariously large magazine size where you could kill an entire squad and still probably have half a mag left over for the next one. Because of that, the Devotion goes in A tier. The EVA 8. So, as of this season, it just got moved back to ground loot after being in the care package for 2 seasons. It's not the greatest amount of fun you'll have with a weapon, considering you need to be within kissing distance of the enemy in order to really do any damage. It's definitely very hit or miss when it comes to fun, so it's going in C tier. The Flatline has always had its place in the meta. It's never been the best assault rifle, but it's never been the worst assault rifle either. You can have a lot of fun by comboing this weapon with a marksman rifle or a sniper rifle. This is because it excels at mid-range, but also has some insane hip fire, which allows it to be used almost like an SMG at times. Because of this, the Flatline goes in B tier. The G7 Scout. Now, I quite like the G7 Scout. It offers a really solid choice from that mid-range to long-range area. However, you shouldn't sleep on the hip fire of this thing. It's insane when you use it up close as well. well. I wouldn't say it's the best marksman rifle to use right now, but slap a 3 times on it and you'll be having a great day. A G7 Scout goes in B tier. The Havoc takes the cake for being one of the most single-used weapons in an entire season. Last season, I was using the Havoc. You were using the Havoc, your mom was using the Havoc, and even your grandma was probably using the Havoc. However, since then, it has gotten nerfed. Meta doesn't always translate to fun, but I think this weapon is still pretty solid. The Havoc goes in B tier. I have been a Hemlok supporter since day one. Even when everyone was like, just use the R301, bro, I was still using the Hemlok. It may not be insanely overpowered like it once was, but if you hit your shots correctly, people will go down. With that being said, the Hemlok goes in B tier. The Kraber. The Kraber is one of, if not the most fun weapon to use in Apex. Being able to completely change a fight with just one shot is insane. You can go from doing nothing in a match to becoming the hero of the team in a matter of seconds. The Kraber is the definition of peak fun in Apex and sits at the top at S tier. The L-Star. With the recent buffs to LMGs, the L-Star is actually pretty viable now. Its infinite ammo coupled with the hipfire buffs can be deadly in the right hands. Overall, it's pretty solid, so it's going in B. Actually, no, it's called the L-Star, and L weapons aren't fun, so it's going in D tier. The Longbow. Now, I used to hate the Longbow, but one day I woke up and I was suddenly able to hit shots with it. The Longbow definitely isn't as fun as the other snipers. However, that doesn't make it bad. The consistency makes it fun to pick up no matter what day it is. So that's why it's going in B tier. Next up is the Mastiff.
I got a Mastiff for you.
I've always found shotguns extremely fun to use in any game. The Mastiff is no different. If you're patient and can time your peaks, then this shotgun can be better than any SMG. It's an absolute blast to use this weapon, and the only downside is the inconsistencies in damage. However, Apex is fixing this seemingly every season, which just makes this gun better and better. There's no question that the Mastiff goes in A tier. I need it. And that's not a joke, because now with the ability to dual wield the Mozambique, it is one of the most fun weapons to use and one of the most powerful. Close range, this thing dominates. It's so powerful that I think Apex is probably gonna nerf it soon, so get your hands on it while you can. It brings a tear to my eye to announce that for the first time in tier list history, the Mozambique goes in S tier. The Nemesis. Now I think the Nemesis is in a really good spot right now. In terms of fun, I'd say it's probably the best out of all the assault rifles. Its charge up mechanic allows you to just completely laser people. When you put a 3-time scope on it, it makes you feel like Goku going Super Saiyan. This is why I am putting it in A tier. The P2020. Now, like the Mozambique, this weapon was a victim of being clowned on for 22 seasons. However, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, this gun has catapulted itself into the meta with the dual wield mechanic. Dual wielded, this gun feels unfair to use up close. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the P2020 goes in S tier. The Peacekeeper. So while I do miss the disruptor rounds, I still think the Peacekeeper's in a really good spot right now. Just like the Mastiff, if you're good at peeking, this gun can be better than any SMG in the game. Sure, you'll hit for 9s sometimes, but you'll also hit for 90s and 120s, which is why I keep picking up the Peacekeeper and I am putting it in A tier. The Prowler. Now, I know some people that think this gun doesn't even exist without having full auto on it, but I've always quite liked the Burst Prowler. Sure, it can be really hard to land the burst sometimes, but when you do, it is so much fun to use. I also think the Prowler haters also help us Prowler enjoyers, because the gun seemingly never gets nerfed now. If you want my most slept on weapon of this season, it's gotta be the Prowler, and is why it's gotta go in A tier. The R301. So the R301 is definitely the most average weapon in the game. Back in the old days, it used to dominate the meta, but now it's just kind of mid. That does not mean it's bad though. If you are brand new to the game, then this weapon is going to be your best friend. And in terms of fun, this gun is just solid. So that's why it's going in B tier. The R99. Whoa! whoa, has this weapon been on a roller coaster. At a given time, it is either the best weapon in the game or the worst weapon in the game, and there is no in between. This season, it's in the care package, and as for most care package weapons, it is pretty darn good. It has an insane time to kill, so if you hit your shots, people will go down quick. However, I would get your hands on this thing as soon as you can because it might go back to D tier just as quick. But for right now, it goes in A tier. The Rampage is the definition of hit or miss. It really depends on the situation if it's fun or not. However, if you like sitting behind rampart walls, standing still and shooting for 2 minutes straight, then this might be the gun for you. Good luck shooting through the rampart wall and the gun shield enemies. If you load up on thermite grenades, then this gun can actually be pretty good. But like I said, this gun is very hit or miss, so it goes in C tier. The RE45. Now, the RE45 isn't bad, it's just that everything else is better. Close range, I would have pretty much any other weapon in the game, except maybe the Alternator. God, I hate the Alternator. If you have a good mag and hammer points on this thing, then it can be pretty fun. If you don't, well, that's why it's in C tier. The Sentinel. The Sentinel is not only fun, but is the single most satisfying weapon in Apex. It's called the mini Kraber for a reason. Being able to pick this thing up off the ground and just start quick scoping people left and right just feels amazing. It already does a ton of damage, but the fact that you can charge it up to make it do even more is insane. Charging this thing up makes you feel like Zeus charging up a lightning bolt to throw down to earth. I really hope Apex doesn't touch this gun because I think it is perfect right now and it earns a spot in S tier. The Spitfire. Now, the Spitfire isn't bad in any category, but it's not really good in any category either. It's relatively easy to use, so if you're a new player, then this weapon could be really fun to use. There are definitely some guns I would take the Spitfire over, looking at you, Charge Rifle, but that doesn't really take away from the fact that it's mid. The Spitfire goes in C tier. The Triple Take is my favorite marksman rifle in the game, and that's because you can use it from pretty much any range and it'll still be effective. You can use it from long range and mid range, but also close range like a shotgun. You can pair this gun with practically any other weapon in the game and still have a great time. Because of that, the Triple Take goes in A tier. The Volt. Now, the Volt is one of the most versatile weapons in the game. It's like the Alternator in that it's consistent. However, this gun's just better. This gun has really good range and can even be used like an AR. Overall, it provides a really solid experience no matter what and earns a spot in B tier. Last but not least is the Wingman. Now, to be honest, I'm not very good with this weapon, but am I gonna let it affect my ranking? Of course I am. This is a tier list. I think this weapon is very hit or miss and has some kind of magical power. Sometimes when you're aimed at an enemy, it'll hit them. Other times it doesn't, and I don't know why. There's no explanation. I've had mixed experiences with this weapon. However, I still think that it provides an overall solid experience, so it's going in B tier. Now go down in the comments and rank the weapons yourselves. I really want to know what you would agree and disagree with. After that, go check out some of my other videos. My recommendation is this video on the screen now, where I had the funniest experience on Apex Quads mode. Not only did I have this insane teammate who sounded way too old to be playing Apex, I also had crazy moments happen throughout the game.